Good afternoon on this glorious New England day. So yesterday in Shul, we continued Moses' farewell speech to the Jewish people as he continues to recount to them the ups and downs, the challenges and struggles, the celebrations and the pitfalls of their time in the desert for 40 years. And on Shabbos in Shul we read the Ten Commandments again as Moses recounts it to the Jewish people, and we all stood in Shul. But this week, Moses reminds the Jewish people of what happened afterwards, when the Jewish people unfortunately failed and sinned with the golden calf. Only so shortly after God had given them the Torah, they had failed and worshipped idols. And Moses hears about it, and Moses comes down from the mountain. And this is the words Moshe says: I watched what happened. The espais esaluchas, I grabbed the luchot, I took them into my hand, va'ashabrim, and I scattered them all over. And he broke the Ten Commandments, the 2 tablets. That sacred, godly, gifted thing that God had just given us, Moses shattered. Do you know what happened? So the rabbis tell us that Moses took those shattered pieces and collected them. And later on, when the Jews built the ark, the tabernacle and the temple that housed the new tablets, and that housed the Torah that Moses wrote, and that housed the vase of manna that they saved from generation to generation, they also put the shattered pieces of the 2 tablets of the 10 Commandments in there. The question is, how ridiculous is that? Imagine you go to a restaurant and everyone's sitting and chatting, and one couple starts having this argument and they're bickering with each other, and suddenly a red glass of wine, a glass of red wine falls, shatters on the floor, makes a mess all over, and the whole restaurant gets quiet. Everyone's staring at them. The waiter quickly comes over and he gets a broom and shovel and he scoops up the pieces of shattered glass. He wipes the floor and he runs away quickly. And slowly but surely the restaurant gets back to its chatter and people turn away. Imagine how embarrassed the couple is. But imagine if, as the waiter comes to clean up, the husband says, no, hold on. And he gets onto the floor and he slowly but gingerly picks up every piece of glass and he puts them in his hand and he collects them on his table. And then he asks the waiter to take out a takeout box and give him the takeout box, and he puts the glass in there and he takes it home and he orders a vase and he puts it at the nightstand between him and his wife, him and his wife's bed. Imagine how ludicrous that would be. You think the guy's an idiot. Why would you want to remind the people, your wife, of the most embarrassing moment you had? You want to forget it. You want to run away from it. You want to make amends. You don't want to remind yourself of that moment. Yet here, Moses took the 10 Commandments, the broken pieces, and he put them back in the ark that would go out with the Jewish people to war. Every time the Jews went to war, every time they had a celebration, they took this ark. It's not like he collected them and he hid them away because they were sacred, that they should be buried. He put them in the ark that went with the Jewish people every time they went. What do we sing when we open the ark? Vayehi binso Aaron, vayomer Moshe, Koma Hashem, v'yafutzu oivecha, v'yonusu misanecha, mipanecha. The enemies would run away when the ark came. But why would you put the tablets there? Shattered, broken pieces that reminded you of all the imperfections of the Jewish people, how they failed only weeks after God had given them the Torah and warned them, you shall not worship idols. And the Rebbe, in one of his revolutionary talks, says that when Moses' message that he was sending to the Jewish people, and the message that God sends us every single day, is that where do you find godliness? In the shattered pieces. When someone fails and he's broken into pieces, or she's broken into pieces, and they become humble and they recognize their imperfections, yet they pick up those pieces and try to make it whole again. They try to find a life after the shattered pieces. What God is telling the Jewish people is that I'm not expecting you to be perfect. Alongside the 2nd tablet that stayed whole and sacred and beautiful were those broken pieces. Because what God was telling the Jewish people was that in the broken pieces, in the failings, in the challenges, when you get up and you start again and you climb that mountain and you try to have the courage to rebuild, that's where you find God the most. God's not telling us to fail, but He's telling us that when we fail, we know that God never expected us to be perfect human beings. God wants us to try to pick up the pieces, not to run away from it, but try to rebuild those imperfections, those challenges, those struggles. You look around life, you look around your own personal life, community life, you look at what's going on in our country, in Israel, you look at all the challenges we have. Sometimes we feel broken. Sometimes we feel shattered. But the real beauty of Judaism and the goal of life is to pick up those broken pieces and to keep them sacred. Allow us to be humble and allow us to take those pieces and try to rebuild our life and try to find a way to learn from our mistakes and our imperfections and to become a little better than we were the day before. Have yourself a great day and enjoy the beautiful weather.